Hello, everyone, and welcome to GamerSide. This is Driftwood speaking for something big, and I'm joined today with my by my good friend Blim Blim. Hi, Blim.
Yeah, Blim Blim and not John Lineman, as
No,
you
I'm
were
sorry I
joking
couldn't get
joking
John,
about.
so I had to go with Blim Blim. That's it.
Yeah, sorry, it's the bad alternative.
Yes, and it's the big review today because it's The Last of Us Part Two that we were sent about 3 weeks ago. Now we had plenty of time to complete the game. Well, I had plenty of time to complete the game and prepare a full review. We are going to say a lot, and at the same time, we won't say much. No spoilers, no story-related spoilers. But I'm going to be very careful with the rest. Don't want to spoil anything, even the sequences you get to play. So
Yeah,
be rest assured,
and
we're
me
not going to
personally,
ruin
I
everything.
know nothing about this game whatsoever.
So to start with the story, maybe, and this is going to be really short because, like I said, I don't want to give away anything. It's been 5 years since the end of The Last of Us Part 1. And obviously, Joel and Ellie are going about their lives, and things have happened. And obviously, you don't know anything about the possible tensions or the rest related to, well, their relationship. So you get to discover that. So it's all very quiet. They now live in Jackson, Wyoming, and it's where that community that was founded by Tommy and his wife. Tommy's Joel's brother, if you remember. And suddenly something happens, and that's why Ellie goes to Seattle, and it's obviously it's a bad thing, and she's pissed. And that's about it for the story. The rest you need to play to discover what's going to happen.
Major spoilers.
Well, no, like I said, I discovered the game. I was it was fresh for me, like I knew nothing about the game. So it's just the way I want people who watch this or read the article in French, the full article in French, to actually live the game once it's in their hands. And
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
one of the big gameplay mechanics which was there in the first game was exploration, and obviously it's also still here. I'm going to say obviously a lot, I guess, tonight. And exploration is pretty similar as it used to be, except that the most of the time the areas you go through are a bit bigger, and you can find places where you don't need to go, but you'll find different things to collect. Resources are very important. What's going on, like in the background? There's a noise. What's happening, Blim? Seems like you're breathing very heavily.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess it's the my fan. I'm sorry. It's a bit hot here. Okay, I've shut it down.
Okay, so never mind that.
Yeah.
So resources are very important. Crafting is back. You use your backpack. There's no pause, so you need to be very careful to do that exactly when you're safe, or else you're in trouble. And you're going to be able to also find different things. So things you will use to craft weapons, but also manuals, like magazines, which will allow you to get new skill trees. There are several skill trees, different skill trees. It's quite linear the way they work. It's like to get you need to get the skills in the order where they appear, and then when you find a manual, you unlock another one, and then you can choose what skills you prefer. But sometimes there's a skill you're interested in which is at the end of the line, but you still have to get those you don't really want. But overall, it works fine. The
Okay, and there's still the free upgrades for the weapons.
the the weapons can be upgraded. They are it's I think it's more like balanced. Like before, some weapons had 4 or 5 upgrades, some had 3. Like it's more balanced now. But before they had like different levels of
Oh
like the
yeah, I meant
power.
the level. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's gone for some reason. And I think it's more to incite people to use more different weapons and to have a more balanced experience in the end. You can also, as you could see, jump now, and so there's verticality in exploration as well as in the other gameplay
Yeah.
compartments. and
That's
it's quite
good.
it's quite interesting to be able to use that. It doesn't become like Ellie is not Nathan Drake by any means, so it's not going to become platformer or anything like that. But still, it's very nice to be able to feel that you're free, that something that you think you should be able to do in real life, you can do most of the time. Like you saw that there was a bottle and it was behind a glass and I could just break it. It's just same thing with the windows of a store. If you can break the windows so that you
Yeah,
can enter the store.
it was very frustrating in the first game. You could see some stuff and say, okay, I can't go there. It was a bit annoying. Yeah, it's good that they fixed that.
Yeah. The thing that is still very like video game in the game is that it seems a lot of people before the outbreak didn't believe in banks, so they have like everyone has a safe at home, so you find a lot of them, and it's a bit video gamey, I would say. But other than that, it's even the resources you find, you find them like in logical locations more or less. Like if you go to a hairdresser's, you're going to find scissors. And if it's a restaurant, you'll find a knife. So it's pretty nice to see that they paid attention to that sort of detail. Now, obviously, and that's another obviously, stealth is also a very big element. It was in the first game. It's been improved. It's been overhauled. Not so much because the AI is better. It is, I guess, if you push the difficulty setting to the maximum, or at least the we'll talk about that. But everything can be tweaked. So, which means if you want one side of the game to be more difficult, to more challenging, you can choose it. But
we'll have a long discussion about that.
But the thing is,
on.
because the areas are more open, because you have more possibilities in terms of the way you move, it becomes much more fun to actually sneak through an area. Like here, for example, no one spotted me, and there's the tension when you get to the door. For example, this type of door, when you need to try to force it open. And obviously, you just have to press to hold the button and hope for the best. And here, in my case, it went well. But it's something that works very well, especially where they are infected. When you know that if they spot you, you're dead. Basically, you don't have any ammo left or anything you can use to fight them. But you can also use like more silent weapons, like the bow. There's a silencer you can craft for your pistol, so it's pretty nice. And something I know that people complained about in the first game is you cannot hide the bodies of the people you kill. But just like in the first game, if you grab someone by surprise, you can take them, on the side so that you can stealth kill them where no one will find them. So it's at least there's that, and again it works pretty well. Another thing that they changed or improved, I would say, is that the NPCs you encounter, the enemies you encounter, the human enemies, they are not anonymous anymore. They all have a name. Dogs have names also. And believe me, I like dogs, and I hated them a lot in the game. I had to kill some of them, and I'm sorry for killing them in the video too. But it's always very, very strange to hear, one of the soldiers yell someone's name because you just killed them, or even their dog's name because you killed the dog. And it makes you wonder, it makes you actually ask yourself, was I right to kill? I mean, shouldn't have, maybe the better option would have been to just go unnoticed. And it's something that in the first game you didn't quite feel, because basically everyone you encountered was just a very, very bad guy. And here the question is, are they really bad people? Or are they just not people like you? And
can you go unnoticed?
You can. I mean, it's more and more difficult depending on the difficulty setting you choose. In Survivor, it can be pretty tricky because they can spot you more quickly. But yes, you can. Obviously, you can. It's just also more difficult if the area is bigger and if there are a lot of enemies. And sometimes there can be a lot of them. But I remember playing some areas where they were infected, and some I couldn't stealth kill. And I didn't have enough ammo to try and kill everyone, so I had to sneak past them, and it was very, 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 very stressful. But obviously there's also combat, because combat is also a big element in the game, and it's brutal as ever.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it.
Yeah, it is. And the thing is, sometimes when you have to, well, sometimes you can be prepared. Like here, I could hear the infected inside, so I knew what to expect. So I was ready for them, and so I used whatever I had. But you see that in the end, because it's very, very smooth, I don't want to use another, shot for the infected. So I just dodged, and then I used my melee attack, which is also very, very nice. So, okay, that's a dog I killed, and I didn't have a choice again. Tried to kill the person behind the bed. Wasn't quite successful, I'm afraid. But then we started to fight, and it's very smooth, just like in the first game, going from using the gun to just hitting with your knife, or if you found a hatchet or something else before, you obviously are going to be more powerful, and the fight will be shorter. Also, you can see you could see that here, but even when you're hiding, proning, hiding under something, you can be spotted by the enemy, just like we saw in the, I think it was the A3 demo 2 years ago. So that's something that actually does happen in the game, and it happened to me a bunch of times. And most of the time I was surprised, because I really thought it was safe. So the idea is that you're going to die a lot in the game, and well, that's the proof of the pudding. And I just, I didn't want to show too many deaths, because that was a bit, well, let's say violent and brutal. So which is why you have to really prepare sometimes when there's an encounter. And here you see there are shamblers, which is a new kind of infected. And they're really dangerous, and they're pretty tough. So yeah, using a mine, and then also damaging their health with fire, and then using the shotgun is pretty effective. But obviously, again, if you play in survivor mode, you're going to have less resources, and you're going to have tougher enemies, and sometimes quicker enemies too. So that is a different experience. The only thing that I find very odd is that the listen mode that you could deactivate in any difficulty setting in the first game, and that was deactivated, I think, in Survivor, it cannot be deactivated anymore. So you can not use it, but you cannot deactivate it in order for you not to be tempted to use it. And that's a bit of a shame. I think it's a bit of a shame, because it makes a big difference, because sometimes it's more reassuring to know where the enemies are. And apart from the stalkers and the Seraphites, who are very quiet, so you cannot see them with the listen mode, it's reassuring to know that you can know where your enemies are, and you can use that skill.
Warlocks.
So just a few more brutal kills that I wanted to share with you. Ouch.
Oh yeah, this one especially.
Yeah. Well, this one is not bad either. And now we're going to talk about the visuals and the options. It's a surprise, but a few things
Some
to say about the
menus.
options. Yeah, menus at the end. But yeah, well, visuals. What did you think, Blim? Because I've been talking a lot.
Obviously, this is an incredibly pretty game. One thing maybe you don't notice on especially if you're watching on YouTube, is that there is a noise grain, a cinema grain filter on the image.
Indeed. Yeah.
So yeah, and so it might not be I don't think everyone is going to like it. I don't think you can disable it.
I haven't found any option to disable it.
Okay.
You can disable it when using the photo mode. You can actually disable it, but not in gameplay.
So one thing for certain, it's going to make the compression on YouTube, and even our own compression, I've noticed it much worse. So yeah, this game is not going to look as great as usual if you're watching it on YouTube or even on our own videos, because of the noise filter. Noise and compression is very very bad. Yeah. Otherwise, well, what can we say about Naughty Dog that hasn't been said before? They are clearly the masters of the PlayStation 4. One thing that people maybe want, well, at least the console warriors are going to say about this game is that it's 1440p on the PlayStation 4 Pro, but the TAA solution that Naughty Dog is using is really top notch. It looks really, 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 really good. It doesn't look upscale at all. So yeah, who cares? If the game looks good on your TV, well, the native resolution really doesn't matter. And I
Yeah,
think it's something we are going to see more and more in the with the next generation games. Don't expect native 4K all the times, even with the next console. Anyway, one thing also that's very, very important in this game is the animation technology they are using, even though it's not as noticeable as I expected. Maybe I haven't seen the game enough. The only thing I've seen of this game is what you are seeing right now. I haven't seen anything else besides, of course, the official videos. So yeah, motion matching is an animation technology that was created by Ubisoft. You can see it in For Honor. Obviously, they have, in For Honor, it's very, very specific because it's in the end it's a fighting game. There is not that much different things you can do in the game. This game is obviously there's a lot more stuff you can do. I don't know if they use motion matching all the time or if they also have keyframes or anything. It still looks really really good, but from time to time you can see that they adjust the position of the character a bit. It's not always like this, especially the enemies. It sometimes they animate it so well that at some point it looks very jarring because
yeah.
something is wrong. I don't know if you noticed it more
Well,
than
yeah,
me.
yeah, that's the problem when you have a very, very realistic looking game. And when you were talking about the visuals, one thing that also differentiate The Last of Us Part 2 from Uncharted 4 is that it's a lot less colorful. I mean, some
Yeah,
moments of the game you'll have sunshine and it'll be very nice. It will be very different from what you're seeing now, even though there is a bit of sun now. But most of the areas we could show were rainy and foggy, which I think they did very well because it's a very
yeah.
difficult thing to do.
The god rays and on the particle, like you can see here, is amazing.
Yeah, indirect lighting, that's very hard to do when you don't use ray tracing technology and things like that. So that actually looks very, very, very good. And then the more you look at it, and the more you realize that they've achieved something a lot more realistic, more gritty also, which is in perfect keeping with the tone of the game itself. I mean, it's The Last of Us.
Totally.
It's
Yeah.
not Uncharted.
The technical prowess is also at the service of the artistical part of the game. So yeah, this game is not trying to look like a movie, like very realistic. There's still some artistical touches in how the game looks. It's not a simulation of the actual real world, and
But in a
they
way,
did it very well.
it's for me, it's a bit more than Uncharted is, because Uncharted for me is
Yeah,
a lot
absolutely.
more cartoony.
Uncharted is very cartoony. Yeah.
So
So
one thing
what we're seeing now,
yeah, well, there were all the options, and I'm sorry we didn't comment on them. But one of the options you can use to make the game easier is you can use slow motion that you can activate when you want, or that's or on when you aim, and it's it's brutal as ever. You can enjoy the animations even more and all the details.
absolutely.
But there are many different options to tweak the difficulty, to tweak for people who suffer from motion sickness, visual aids, many things. I think it's the most I've seen in a game ever, and it's very very nice. And even you could play the game, I'm sure, because you
No
can
way.
become like
No,
a
absolutely
god,
no
I
way.
think.
I could play it. It's just too much for me. Anyway, I'll let you talk about the verdict.
So yeah, in the end, I was hooked. I mean, I played the game. I didn't it was very hard to leave to drop the controller to go to sleep. I played for I think a bit more than 30 hours on hard difficulty to complete it. It was exhausting in a way. It was everything that I was afraid it wouldn't be, and all I can say is, it might be the end of an era for the characters in a way. I'm not. I don't know if there's anything more to
And the
tell,
console itself.
and the console itself. But it's a very very it's the best way for Naughty Dog to say farewell to the console. So yeah, I think you should definitely get it if you like the first one, and that's about it. There's nothing more to say, people. It's The Last of Us Part Two, and it's just as good as we hoped it would be.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll find a nice playthrough.
Well, I guess. So thanks for watching, and we hope we'll see you soon. Bye.
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing here?